At 207 West Road, Overport, we offer a full-service experience from slaughtering to slicing. Choose from a wide variety of sheep, goats, and cattle shares starting from just 2,500 Rand. For something bigger, we have full cattle starting from just 16,500 Rand. Trust the synergy of Alansar and Continental Livestock for quality, convenience, and compassion. Visit us today or call now to place your order.
It's the final countdown to the event of the year. That's right, it can only be the Magma Agri Fair in Camperdown, taking place on Saturday the 25th and Sunday the 26th of May at plot D353 Umlas Road. Get Qurbani ready with us at the live animal auctions, not to be missed. A weekend jam-packed with entertainment and fun as always. More shopping, more food, more Magma. See you there.
Urban Woman, sponsored by Vada Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. You're listening to Urban Women. It's a wonderful Tuesday. It's time for Mums, Bombs and Little Ones segments. And today we are actually diving into a very important topic, and that is flu season in South Africa. Now, as winter approaches, it's crucial to stay informed and prepared, of course, to protect ourselves and our loved ones. Now, flu season in South Africa typically runs from May to September, peaking in the colder months of June and July. And during this period, the influenza virus spreads more easily due to people, of course, spending more time indoors and in close proximity to each other, which actually facilitates the transmission. But to chat more to us about this topic, we're going to be chatting with Dr. Von Ludwig, who is all the way in Polokwane. He's joining us this morning, and he has his own private practice for about 15 years, and his interest is in infectious diseases, specifically in HIV. Good morning, Dr. Ludwig, and welcome to Urban Women.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Absolute pleasure having you. Now, we often hear flu season, if you catch a little cold or you have the flu and you go to the doctor, your general GP, he will say there's various flus going around. Now, if you could maybe just break it down and share some of that with us, as we have no idea. We just know something called the flu. And of course, COVID.
Most of the time, most of the time when people talk about the flu, they actually mean a cold or even hay fever. Mm-hmm. So when you tell that they're having flu, they will disagree with you. They will say, "But I've had flu before and it doesn't feel like this." Right. Well, it's probably then because you haven't had real flu. Mm-hmm. So every year, as you said, the flu season, we deal with two main viruses. We deal with the influenza type A and the influenza type B, but they've got different subtypes as well. So influenza type A is usually the one that causes the epidemics in South Africa and across the world. But influenza B we also see, but often later in winter, and it causes less severe symptoms usually.
Okay, so I've heard that A and B. Thank you for shedding some light on that. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, because I think every year around the flu season time, there's this kind of panic that is coming around, or, a lot goes around via social media, and sometimes it's not all that bad. So what would you say, doctor, from your experience and your expertise? Is it more severe this year than previous years?
Well, I've been, as you said in your introduction, I've been in private practice for almost 15 years now. And each year, patients are telling me this year is more severe than last year. And this year is not like last year and so on. But whereas I see every year is more or less the same, actually. So I don't think there's need for panic. I think there's enough panic on social media. And you see different symptoms every year, and they do come in cycles where you've got, 1 year might be slightly more severe than the previous year, but we're not talking about very severe that people even notice. So we see differences in symptoms. 1 year you will have more headache, 1 year you'll have more fever, another year you will have more body ache, more coughing, and so forth. But in general, the flu season every year, you see the same type of symptoms and the same type of severity. I think people are just we all our memories are short, so we forget how it was last year.
Indeed. Absolutely. And I think, sometimes we like to create this sort of, what can I say, a drama that is really bad and get plugged into it. But I think that is the fear that then
Yes.
grips us. And as you know, emotions also affect our immune system. So I think that's so important that we try and keep in check with that.
Yeah.
Now, Doctor,
Yeah.
as I go around, I'm noticing people are actually wearing the mask. So what would you say? Do we actually need to mask up and also be concerned of probably another lockdown, or you think we were done and dusted with that stage?
Well, I cannot speak for the government,
Right.
Then,
Yeah.
but according to my knowledge and according to what I see, I don't foresee another lockdown or anything, And even with the masks, I don't think it's necessary. I think if you want to protect others, yes, you can wear a mask, but I don't think it's something that should be mandated for everybody. During the COVID pandemic, we had a much higher mortality rate. We had a much higher hospitalization rate and so forth. So mask and social distancing was a good thing during that time. But I don't see it now. I mean, if you just compare the statistics during the COVID time, we had 30,000 deaths in South Africa in the first year of COVID. They say 30 to 50,000 depending on who you ask. And then, but I mean, in the flu season, we've got 6 to 11,000 deaths per year. So it's almost 5 times as much during COVID than what it is now.
Absolutely.
And then you must also remember the hospitalizations and everything that goes together with that. So I definitely don't think masking is necessary. But I mean, it's up to people. If they want to protect others, then that's fine. They can wear a mask.
Okay, so I suppose it's just your personal preference and what makes you feel better.
Yes.
Absolutely. I have to share my experience during COVID time that when we had to wear the mask, it was mandatory. I just felt as if I was having a panic attack. And then I realized, okay, it's because I'm not breathing properly. So yeah, I think it's what works for the individual.
It's true, and I think also when we were wearing the mask during the COVID time, we were preventing lots of other illnesses as well. The social distancing and everything was keeping us away from flus and from everything else. So then we had a slight surge afterwards when we were unmasking and coming back together again.
Right.
So to go through that again, I would say that's really unnecessary at this stage.
Oh, thank you so much for that. Now let's talk about the flu vaccine. In your opinion, does it really work? Again, I'm going to share my experience. Once in my entire life did I take it, and that's the time that I got the flu like really badly, and I made an absolute promise never again, because I think I would have probably caught a mild cold. But what is your opinion about the flu vaccine? Does it work?
Okay. So just so first of all, I think when people usually take the flu vaccine, it's usually when they start hearing about flu and so on. So they usually don't take it when the flu vaccine comes out. It comes out in about March, sometimes April if it's really late.
Okay.
But So when people start hearing about flu and so on, then they go and take the flu vaccine, and they usually get it from health facilities. So I often see people getting the flu vaccine. I actually saw a family this morning that got the flu vaccine. They got flu, but they were there with their child having flu, and then they wanted the vaccine. So I mean that sort of defeats the purpose. If you are having the flu vaccine and you already have somebody with flu, I mean the chances of that vaccine protecting you is about zero.
Yeah.
So for myself, I've been vaccinating myself and my kids. I've got three children and my wife for the past 15 years, and we've never had problems. And especially with our exposure to influenza, I mean, I've never had flu after being vaccinated. With vaccination, I think people are scared that the flu vaccine will give them flu.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the same. If I have to compare that logic, that's like taking car parts and throwing it in the road and saying, well, it will drive somewhere.
I like that analogy.
So no, the flu vaccine cannot give you flu. It's impossible.
Okay, so again, it's just up to your prerogative, but it doesn't give you the flu. So thank you for clearing that out.
Yes.
What about antibiotics? I mean, I actually have a practice where I specialize more in natural healing, but there's a
Okay.
lot of people that talk about that say they're very affirmative that they will not take the antibiotics. But I have a different opinion. I feel that if my body needs it, I'm going to take it. What do you have to share with us about antibiotics and maybe kill some of the myths?
When it comes to antibiotics, I'm actually very conservative. I don't give it often, because the problem, especially with in general practice, most of the infections that you see are viral in nature. So the antibiotics is not going to do anything. But unfortunately, many doctors will give antibiotics just to give something, to keep the patient happy.
Yeah. So
Whereas
psychosomatic
it's got
kind of a thing.
no.
I'm giving you some
Sorry.
medication. Like psychosomatic. I'm giving you some
Yes,
medication.
yes. Exactly. And so just for interest sake, I mean, there was a study done in the UK that looked at they looked at 1 million patients, and they asked the patients what was the one thing that made them to think that it's a good doctor. And there were several questions. I think there was like 13 questions, ranging from does the doctor listen, does he examine you well, all sorts of things. And the number one thing that came out was, does he give me antibiotics or not? So the fact is that giving antibiotics is in a patient's mind equivalent to a good doctor, which I don't think should be true. A good doctor is the one that actually gives you the correct medication, not necessarily antibiotics. So, but anyway, so antibiotics does not work for flu. That is definitely so.
That's so important for us to know. But as you're saying, I think it's almost like that placebo effect. Whatever you believe is going to help you is going to help you at the end of the day. Let's talk about the swine flu. I had COVID initially when it came out. I think it was the second phase, the Delta variant. It really wasn't pleasant. Yes. Last year, I got a terrible flu, and my doctor told me that he was convinced it was the swine flu. Tell us more about the swine flu and also maybe Tamiflu or for treatment. Does it work?
Yes. So with swine flu, I mean, I said earlier on that we've got two subtypes, two main viruses, influenza A and influenza B, and then each one of them have got subtypes. With influenza A being the one that usually causes epidemics, it's got several subtypes: H1N1, H3N2, and all of these things. Yeah. And then swine flu is a variant that originated in 2009 as a specific H1N1 strain. So, and since then it has circulated with the rest of the flu strains. Now, most laboratories don't test specifically for swine flu. It's just generally for influenza type A or B. Right. And the reason is because since 2009, swine flu was more severe than other flus, but at this stage, it's just like it's the same as all the other flus. So, and unfortunately, people, including doctors, tend to call everything swine flu, although it might just be a normal flu. So there is definitely swine flu going around. I think I've had one test that came back positive specifically. I sent it to a specific lab because I wanted to check something else. Right. And it came back as specific for the 2009 variant of which was swine flu. But it's still treated the same way. It's still exactly the same. So swine flu is just a variant of the yearly influenza, and that has its roots in 2009. And then, as you ask about Tamiflu is effective for influenza A and B. That is the quote unquote antibiotic, or actually more the antiviral that you can use for influenza. Okay. So yeah.
Thank you so much for that. To wrap up, if we could just touch onto sport and flu. I think, those people that are very athletic, love their sport, love gymming daily. What advice do you have for them when they have the flu? Should they take a break, and how soon can they get back to the gym as well?
So my general rule of thumb is to say, you must remember that flu is a systemic illness. It affects all the muscles, and your heart is also a muscle. So when you are gymming, your heart is working harder, and usually flu will last for about a week to 2 weeks in total. I'm not talking about just the fever. The fever will last 3 to 5 days, but the total illness will last a week to 2 weeks. So I usually say avoid gymming for 2 weeks, and then from there on you can slowly increase the percentage of what you've been doing before. So in other words, for a week, maybe a week or two, you can do 25% of what you've been doing before, and then 50%, and then 75%, and so forth. So slowly get back to normal, because if you do it too fast, too soon, you might end up hurting your heart. You can end up getting complications like myocarditis, which is inflammation of the heart muscle, and all types of other nasty complications that you can get then.
Absolutely. Prevention is better than cure. Thank you so much for that. We do thank you for your time, and due to time, it's already time for 11 a.m. news, but we appreciate all the information that you shared with us during this flu season, and we wish you have a lovely day, Doctor, until we connect again. Bye for now.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Only a pleasure. That was Dr. Ludwig, all the way in Polokwane, talking to us about flu season. So just remember, while the flu season approaches us, let's prioritize our health, inshallah. Stay hydrated, try and take all your medications, stay safe, and also stay well informed. I'll be back after the news. Stay tuned.